Tallboys and Trackmasters is brought to you by Expert Exhaust. Expect more for your money. MTB Shock Dock, your choice for suspension needs. High Gear Success. From helping racers get sponsored to motorsports event operation and promotion, shift your passion into high gear. Miracle Works Detailing. No cars too dirty. And by Cycle Mart, your motorcycle parts store.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode 68 of Tallboys
and Trackmasters.
Ooh, buddy. Well, as you can see, we got a very special guest with us live in the studio, Mr. Richie Nolan from Mountain State Hare Scrambles. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
Thanks for coming in and sitting down and BSing with us here for a
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's good to have you.
So we'll just kind of jump right in and get started. And it for our audience members out there who have a little bit of ADHD like me, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense, I don't think. But we'll try to wrap it all up and put a bow on it as soon as we can. So let's start off with what you've been doing this week, which is getting ready for Ruger's Run. Which round is this now for Mountain State?
This will be our round 11.
Round 11.
Yeah, I've been building track this week, dodging raindrops here and there. Got a little slow start yesterday, and then ended a little early today with the rain, but we're getting it done, making it happen. So
sweet. So how's the weather been this season so far? I know you guys have had a little bit of everything, right?
yeah, it started out pretty muddy. And, we had to cancel a few there for cold weather and the rain and what have you, and then it seemed like we got into the middle of the season and it was nothing but dust.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 2 or 3 that was just, awful dusty. Some guys saying, worst dust they've ever seen. So we've had a little bit of everything so far. This weekend, I think we're going to be right there in the middle where it needs to be. The rain that happened this weekend, and it's continuing right now. It's supposed to all be out of there by Thursday. So a couple days of dry and sunshine. I think it'll turn out to be good. But
It'll be
the
good
weather
and
fought us a
tacked
little
up
bit all
and-
week or all season so far.
Yeah. Anything in particular to look out for at this round? Tell the people out there.
Not really. This is one of our more technical tracks, a little bit harder. For you guys that are in the Fairmont area, you know the old Hard Rock racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
This is just right down the road from that. So you got all the rock up there. That place has a lot of elevation change too. So you're basically either going uphill, downhill, or across the side of the hill. So there's a little bit of everything there. So it's, nothing like I said different than any other round. Maybe just a little bit more challenging. If it stays dry though,
Cool.
If it gets wet, it'll be a different story.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, one thing that I want to try to get accomplished this evening is to kind of peel the curtains back a little bit and show people just how hard it is to put on a race, let alone a whole series of races. So let's start off with that. Talk us through what your typical day is or your week is leading up to an event and what you have to do to get it done.
Yeah. So my week starts basically on Sunday. I have 7 trailers that I take to each racetrack, from equipment trailers with merchandise in it, scoring trailer, what have you. That does include our camper that we stay in for the weekend. Starts on Sunday before the event. Me and the wife, my younger brother Zach, will hook the trailers and we'll take 3 of them to the racetrack. And then from there on, Monday I take a trailer with me and I'll work all day at the racetrack. Tuesday I'll take a trailer. And that's usually it. I'll wait till Thursday and Friday, take my last 2 or what have you. Some of that is depending on where it's at too.
Right.
The Elkins one, that's a little further away, so I'll take one with me every day. this one here in Bunners Ridge, since it's only 20 minutes from my house, I took 5 of them Sunday.
Yeah.
I just run one out, turn around, come back, grab another one, just so I could do it and I didn't have to worry about it. But so it starts on Sunday. Monday when I get there, I have 1, 2, maybe 3 guys, kind of whoever I can rope that week to help me. I got 1 full-time guy, 2 full-time guys, but we'll get there and we just start riding the trails. I already have it in my mind how I want to lay it out. Excuse me. Well, that's from how I related out last year.
Mhm.
We'll flip it, run it backwards, and then if there's hills that were down hills, now they're up hills. We've got to alternate around them or whatever. So I've already got it in my mind. We'll start riding it Monday. Take chainsaws and them electric edge clippers and just get everything cut back.
Yep.
We only run our tracks once a year, so in a year's time, it's hard to tell what's growing in, what's falling, especially with the storms we've had.
Does that
lately.
sound familiar, James?
Yeah, it does. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, he was saying something about you guys spending months on cleaning trails out.
My
there.
goodness, the amount of work and effort that goes through to have, one group of guys go through it for one day out of the year is a pretty significant volume of work by the time you're finished.
Yeah, especially when it's somewhere like you're saying, where it's maybe somewhere where people aren't riding all the time.
Mhm.
Like that's a lot of times you're just blazing a whole new trail, especially if it's been a year. Things grow up so quickly with the underbrush and the grapevines and what have you that you're just starting over from scratch a lot of times too.
Yeah. We have some tracks that are like that. We have some landowners that they race themselves, so
Yeah.
they kind of naturally ride and it keeps it kind of pushed back. So that makes it a little easier on me.
Yeah.
And then we have some tracks that nobody does anything with, like Here Riggers Run. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody touches it. The landowner hunts it, and that's about it. So when we come out there, it's just start cutting stuff back, brush, briars, trees, whatever. Like I said, especially with the storms we've been having. We don't get a mild storm anymore.
No.
It's just hail and
it's-
wind,
exactly.
and lightning. It's just like we don't get normal rain. So
It's
yeah, we do that Monday and Tuesday, get everything cut back, and then it usually takes us about 2 days, and that's depending on how bad it is. This one here, like I said, rain's slowing us down a little bit, but we've got it all cut back, so we was able to actually start getting some areas thrown at it today, and we'll finish that up Wednesday into Thursday. Then Thursday, we usually try to build our start and our finish line. We get that Thursday. A lot of times we hold off on that start till Friday, and like I said, a lot of that's weather depending and help. How much
Yeah.
help do I have?
Yeah.
The more people, the faster it goes, especially with our starting line. We've really got that down to a science. It really goes together smoothly if you've got 3+ people. So a lot of times we push that till Friday because a lot of my help is there on Friday because they're staying for the weekend because they have kids that race or they're racing themselves or whatever it is. So that's kind of the rough idea of how it works through the week. And of course, have the race Saturday and Sunday, and then turn around and tear it all down.
Yeah.
We spend, depending on the weather and how wore out we are on Sunday evening, we'll go back around. We'll start getting all the areas taken down. We'll get the skid steer and we'll fix up the field where the finish and start was.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I've never till the last race kept track of my personal hours, not including Sunday evening picking up arrows and ribbon and trash, and then going back Monday and finishing, and then all my trips back and forth Tuesday and Wednesday. I had just myself had 100 hours.
Oh, I
that
guarantee
does
it.
not surprise me at all.
It surprised me because I just I didn't keep track of my own time.
Yep.
I knew what my guys that helped me. I kind of knew what they had every
Sure.
time.
Yeah, well, when you run your own business, your time's worthless, right?
Yeah,
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So whenever you have the track kind of laid out in your head, do you have a certain mileage that you want to try to hit each time? Do you have maybe some things on the property that are there, that maybe some cool things to go over top of, or some obstacles? Is that kind of how you put together the track in your head?
Yeah, basically. Obviously we kind of shoot for as long as mileage as we can, just so it gets guys spread out.
Yeah.
But that's depending on what kind of property we have. So I kind of keep that in the back of my mind, and like you're saying, hill climbs, especially if they're close for spectators to get to, we want to run them because everybody loves watching that stuff.
Yeah.
Like out here at Runners Ridge, it was 8.2 miles last year. I've changed it up a good bit, but I've run basically every piece of track or trail that's there. I'm running it.
Yeah.
I'm not running it the same direction. There's a piece that I'm running backwards from last year, and then we put a new section in that connects over to another piece that will run the same way. So I already kind of know in the back of my mind, okay, well, I've not run any trail. I've run every piece of trail that's out here from last year. year, so it should still be around the 8 mile.
Yeah.
So I won't know the exact mileage until I trip it, but it'll still be anywhere from 7.9 to 8.4.
Yeah.
It'll be right in there somewhere.
One thing that I always thought was really cool that you guys do is when you're done with every single different track that you do, and that's the other thing. It's not just one track for everybody. You've got the youth track. You've got quad track. You've got some bike stuff. It's all a little bit different, but
We built 3 tracks.
yeah. So that's the other aspect of that too. But I do think it's cool how you guys post that kind of a general overview of the layout of the track with the mileage and stuff. Kind of gives everybody an idea of what they're going to be getting into for the weekend. So
Yeah, we just started doing those track maps there last year. I wasn't real too keen on them because it's another loop that I have to make on every track with my phone. And this app turned on, and in reality, if you look at that, like it's zoomed out so far, it's like
kind of like Microsoft Paint sometimes.
it's like you can't tell where the hill climb's at.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of thought it wasn't worth my time. But man, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have them posted by Thursday, they're like, "Where's the track map? Where's the track map?" So I'm like, I guess I got to keep doing these. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge deal, but like I said, it's another thing that has to be done.
Yeah.
We have people that request a GPX file of the hard loop every year that we don't supply because it's roll charted and arrowed, and there's several like private landowner sections that
they don't want you riding on that.
no,
Right,
especially
yeah,
in the
exactly.
fall. Like there's several areas that are hunted on that they don't want anybody on in the
Right.
fall and stuff like that.
You talk about building tracks. So, like I mentioned, we have 3 tracks. We have a micro track, we have a youth track, we have an adult track. Sometimes you have an adult only section for bikes and quads, or just bikes in a single track. Then also this year we've been doing a lot of static racing, so there's another little track we have to build. And then the other thing is that you don't realize is when we get a mutter. So at Mason Town at the Bull Run track, we got a terrible rainstorm right as the pros were finishing. So me and 4 other guys went out and we worked till dark. So we say we worked till 9:30, and we basically built 2 more tracks.
Yeah.
Because now what they already run was so slick and hard packed. When the rain hit it, the majority of the minis and the youth bikes or youth quads would never get up it. So now you pull all those areas down and you either doze a new path beside it so it's fresh, or you just completely change the layout. So at a track like that, it was like we built 5.
We're always living in fear. We set up our hard loop, and then a lot of those areas, if it rains heavily, there's so much clay and stuff like that it's going to be extremely challenging for even the first round of bikes to make it through, let alone the guys after everything's been churned up. So luckily this year I was fortunate enough to be one of the pre-run guys to make sure the arrows are still up, and we got caught out on a pretty rough section with a lot of creek crossings, stuff like that. It was the hardest rain I'd ever been stuck in, and drew the short straw.
Yep.
You'll have that. Let's talk about the amount of supplies that you go through. So obviously, probably number one's gonna be arrows, right? We talked about that kind of off camera, but
we go through. And it's a real rough estimate, but it's probably like anywhere from 500 to 800 arrows a race.
Yeah.
We go back around, we pull them down. A lot of guys toss them. I just try to save them. We like I said, we throw them in a basket, and after the week's over, sometime throughout the next week, we just kind of flip through them when we're standing around in the garage. If they're muddy, toss them. If they still, some of them are brand new when you put them up. So when you pull them off the tree, all they have is a couple staple holes. So it's like, why not reuse it? Because if you do the math breakdown, if you have to buy that package of arrows, it comes out to be like 21 cents an arrow.
Yeah.
So just reuse them.
I never realized just how many arrows we put up just for the detour until I ran sweep with another rider and took almost everything down. And I was running out of place to put arrows. I had them in my backpack. I had them in my tank bag behind my headlight shroud. And then I had a ball of staples like the size of grapefruit by the time the day was over from pulling staples out of trees too.
Times that by 2. And then do it like every other weekend.
Yeah.
That's what this guy's got to do.
I can't imagine.
I mean, I'm sure you got that. You've got staples. You've got
we,
fuel for all your equipment.
we go through our boxes of staples. I order them on not a pallet, but I order a box of them, get a little better discount. And it's 3 to 4 boxes of staples per race, and they're 1,000 in a box. So you figure 3,000 to 4,000 staples. Our wooden stakes. Now we definitely save the wooden stakes. Nowadays they're up to like $1 a stake.
Well, and I've purchased some of those from you for our event as well. So
so we definitely, if they're not broken, we pop them back out of the ground. But my bins on my trailer will hold about 250 to 300 wooden stakes.
Mhm.
And at particular races, we'll go through them all. Like
Yeah.
the bins will be empty. So you figure there's 250 or so stakes. Rolls of ribbon,
Yeah.
those excuse me, those fly rolls, I think they're 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's 1,000 feet or
Yeah, I think they're like 1,000 or 1,200 feet. I think.
yeah.
It's
We'll
almost
go through 4 or 5 rolls of that.
Yeah. It's almost without fail. We'll get into some sections where we want to start ribbing some stuff off, and we never have enough. we always end up running out and having to take like some ribbon that was left over from last year and
Yep.
lash it together and make it work.
Is it disheartening a little bit in a way, like you said, at the end of it all, where you basically have to destroy everything that you did?
Not so much disheartening, but we do kind of joke around about it. Me and the guys that helped me set up and tear down were like, spent all week putting it together for 2 days, and it's really not 2 days. It's what, like 3 hours or 4 hours a day.
Right.
Yeah.
And you turn it around, you tear it all back down. It's just like I said, disheartening is not the word I'd use. It's just like it's just
Yep.
work. What I mean? It's just like I did all this work for 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, it's
not even 2 full days.
And now you have to undo it all.
Yeah.
it's a great deal for the guys that show up to ride. So you just show up, ride it, and then when you're done, you're done.
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times, and that's what I was trying to say earlier. I want to try to get that point across of until you've done this, you have no clue the amount of work that goes into putting this on.
Yeah.
Like it's unfathomable. And we complain about doing a one day a year event, let alone, like you said, like 2 rounds a week or a month, basically.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of work. Like I said, the man hours. I need to add up my time and my employees' time for the week leading up to it, but I'm sure it's over 200 combined man hours.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. We always talk to, we want everybody to have a good time. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this, the ride we put on is having fun, but you guys will come up, oh man, I love that, that private property section. We're just sitting there thinking back of the time that was spent cutting that in. And, sometimes you just, in our scenario, at least, you just wish that you could be a spectator for a year instead of, one of the guys that makes it happen.
that's going to be one of my questions. I'll go ahead and ask right now. I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. But being the head promoter, putting all this work in, do you still have the opportunity while the race is going on to kind of sit back and be a fan and see the racing go down? No, yeah, I didn't think so.
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
Half the time, I have not a clue who's even leading the race. You'll see me a lot of times. I'm on my phone. I'm looking at live. Our live works really well, and I'm looking at that live for 2 things. I want to see A, who's leading it, and I want to see B, how much time's left for the checker. Because at that point, I got to hurry up. I got to make a track change, or we got to listen on the radio to start pulling guys in, go over, get ready to start the next race. So no, there's very few times that we get to really set and watch the race. And if we do, it's when the conditions are great, or if it's even dusty, where there's no like problems or hiccups and the track's flowing good, there's nobody lost, there's not a ton of guys broke down, stuff like that. Then we'll get to set back. It's hit or miss, but it's pretty rare that it gets to happen. If it does, you usually see all of us. You'll see all of our staff. We'll be posted up in the woods somewhere. We joke about it on the radio. We say, "Where's the party at?" You know what I mean? Like if it's going smoothly and the radio's not going off, and you don't see your buddy or your help, you're like, "Where you guys at? Where's the party at?" "Oh, we're over here at this hill climb or at this rock that everybody's throwing a chain off or something's crazy." And so we will get to post up for a little bit, but it's pretty far and few between when it happens.
Obviously, the money's one part of it, of doing a business and conducting that, but it also has to be satisfying to see all these people showing up to do your event. And, I'm sure we'll get into it later in the episode, but seeing these battles play out throughout the year. And, we've talked to a lot of different people on the show about, they do like training classes and helping people improve their skills and stuff. But, is that cool to see throughout the year? You see people maybe progress and get better throughout the series?
Yeah, it definitely is. You do get to watch, especially the kids.
Right.
There's some kids out there that have been doing it since they was on 50s, and now they're racing adult.
Yeah.
So
Makes you feel old, right? Though.
Yeah, definitely. You get to kind of watch them grow up. But like I said, going back to the whole, not really having a chance to sit down and watch. Like I said, I don't get to see a whole bunch of battles and stuff like that. It's more just, you get to see the kids kind of progress through the ranks a little bit.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I said, there's not a lot of time staying around and watch.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see where else here. Having said that, I mean, I'm sure you're kind of involved in seeing what the points are coming down towards the end of the year. Is there any like really close battles in any of the classes that you can think of right off the top of your head, or?
No, honestly, I've not really looked down through them. The wife Sarah kind of handles that side of it, so she'd be the one to ask about that. I don't, not to sound mean or anything, but I really don't have any reason to look down through the points. You know what I mean?
I get it.
I'm just putting the races on, and that the points kind of thing that Sarah posts into the website, and that's kind of as much as I have involved with it.
Gotcha.
It just kind of is what it is.
Being able to compartmentalize that between the two, you probably helps ease the amount of stuff you got to focus on.
Yeah, a little bit. She still has a full-time job, so
yep.
We have a 2-year-old and another one on the way, so it's still
well,
pretty.
Congratulations!
It's still pretty hectic, even for her, for both of us,
yep.
trying to literally juggle, all this stuff. So, like I said, some aspects I don't really pay attention to because it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not trying to sound mean, but it doesn't matter to me who's battling for first or second or fourth. Like, they're both going to be there in the points, and we're going to have a banquet, and they're all going to show up. So the placing to me, I'm just kind of like I said, I'm not trying to sound like a butthead or anything, but it's just something I don't really concern myself with. So
we appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, this is an honest show. You can say whatever you want about it.
Well, like I said, I'm not trying to come off in any way. It's just that's not something that I really pay attention to. I do glance down through them, like the first 2 or 3 classes are pro and A class. Just kind of notice, okay, who's leading the points. Other than that, and honestly, right now, I can't tell you who's winning the quad pins. I haven't looked at it.
Right.
I don't remember. Brandon Owens was doing a good job there, and then he hasn't been the last couple, so I'm not even sure who's got the points leading the pro quad right now. The bike side, I'm almost 100% positive.
Peyton Feather. I was going to say he's kind of the fastest
guy. Last 2 or 3, or he's got a bunch of wins, so I know he's up front there.
I know, no surprise there.
I actually work with a young man that has been running the pro class here, Mr. Deshaun Horton. So I'm going to give him a shout out. He's an electrician at the plant with me, and also my buddy Izzy Richards, who he's ran some stuff in the vet class there before. His son Hunter, I think he's pretty much tearing it up in the open AB right now. So shout out to those guys real quick. So your guys' motto, you say that we don't make winners, we build them.
Right.
I think that is something that's very obvious and evident when you see guys that come and do your series, full time, when they get out on the national stage, and you see so many people from West Virginia, Southern PA, Ohio, the guys the core group in this area doing so well in the pro ranks, that I think that's very evident true. And I hope that kind of conveys that what you guys put on is a stepping stone to help these guys in their future endeavors and try to maybe get that factory ride or something. You got, it's no slouch. You got some fast guys that come and ride Mountain State Hare.
Oh yeah, and there's fast guys just in this area,
right?
And there always has been. Like we was talking off camera about some of the older guys back in the Blackwater days and stuff. This area right here has produced a ton of fast quad guys and bike guys.
Yeah.
And our whole slogan. I don't mean to get off track there.
No.
But like it's kind of double-edged sword because I like the tracks that we lay out, obviously, but a lot of guys don't.
Yeah,
they're too tough, they're too hard, and I don't purposely set out to make them hard. It's just my thought process is I don't like fields. They're too fast. That's where people get hurt in the woods, obviously too. But I don't like fast fields because I'm trying not to get guys hurt. Yep. Plus, honestly, driving all them wooden stakes across a mile-long field section, it's just, and then the bike guys, the quad guys, whoever, they just go out through there and they run them all over, and then you're back out there, and I'm just like, I hate fields. Obviously, you got to have some, you got to have pits, and you got to be able to get from one wood chunk to the next wood chunk. So it's, double-edged sword, you got to have them. But I like the tracks we build. I know a lot of guys say they're too tough, and we do kind of have the, I don't know what the correct word is, dignitism or the rumor around
the stigmata of
we have the tougher tracks
Yeah.
out of the other series in the area, which, I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I like it. That's stuff I grew up riding. You know, you run back in the day. I mean,
100%, dude.
when Kuntz was running the
Yep.
series, that stuff, it was rough. It was
Yes.
hard. And I honestly, and you can ask, you know, probably if you come out to the track, your dad or your mom, they, you know, both been around for a while and
Yep.
racing their whole lives. That stuff that I'm building for them kids is nothing harder than what me and you would have run.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the Kuntz days or the Kenny St. Clair days.
Yep.
You know,
You see where this is coming from? Why I like all the like I drag these guys around with me all the time, and they're like, "What the fuck are you trying to do?
Well,
You're gonna send
so-
a dual sport up to this stuff?" Like, yeah, this is easy.
that's
Come
So
on,
I
man.
got-
on that.
I got a little aside, right? So your motto is, you know, centered around building winners. So for me, at least, I got involved with this, with the group of FDSR, shortly after I'd gotten back into riding. I rode a little bit as a kid, got out of it, and then got back into it pretty much after I was on my own health insurance, post college, and got a real job and all that. But you know, for me, it wasn't practicing on my own that made me better. It was getting into a group of better riders with more challenging terrain that, I mean, a lot of times it was, you kind of have to make it up. You have to make
Right.
it through. And that's what really helped me to improve, like, especially in my skills, like technical terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah, most definitely. And like I said, that's kind of stuff I like to lay out, you know, is the harder stuff, more technical stuff.
Yep.
You know, not every track has the opportunity for us to do that. We try to. And then the other thing is, honestly, if you was to build a Paul Kuntz or a KSR track right now, and I don't mean to sound mean, but I bet you half the adult dirt bike riders would get around it.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's not that they can't, it's not that their skill is not there. It's just, I think a lot of it is there's so many more riders nowadays.
Yep.
You know, when you have 200 dirt bikes, they struggle to get around stuff because they're all clustered up. Nobody's got time to you know, wreck and pick it up. The next guy's running into them. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that goes into it, but that's part of it. You know, a lot of these riders now, and this is just from, I guess, the way the world is now, but they don't ride unless they're at the racetrack.
Yeah.
You know, all these places, I'm sure you guys are aware, all these places are shutting down. You
Yeah.
can't
Oh,
leave
yeah,
your bike
we've
that they're
talked
riding.
about- We've
we've
talked
talked
about the
about that.
land rights and, you know, riding area stuff.
Yeah.
To,
So that kills the, you know, the riding, what the correct terminology is, but, you know, that kills the guy that can go out and ride every weekend and then come to the racetrack and dominate.
Yep.
You know, now basically the only time they have to ride is at the racetrack.
Yeah.
So that
Well-
really hurts the new people coming into the sport. I mean, COVID was really bad. I don't know how many dirt bike riders we had that literally like, yeah, I bought this dirt bike last week, brought it to the racetrack. I'm like,
Yeah.
Man, you know,
You're in for it now, bud.
I was
especially knowing
enjoying-
our tracks are tougher than
Yeah.
others. And I'm like, oh man, this guy, you know, nothing against that. That's great. You got to get in there somehow. You got to start getting after it. But like with all these places closing down and nowhere to ride, it's just it makes it harder for them because now they have to learn during a race.
Yep.
And
We
it's
were-
just,
we were enjoying, you know, coming to some of those Hare scrambles and stuff, and you could tell how many novice riders there were. That, I mean, on relatively new bikes too. You know, there would be like a lot of pretty much look like they just rolled off the showroom. This is the first time the tires hit dirt, and that made for some really interesting, you know, races to go out and check out. Was just how many
yeah,
new guys there were, how many choke points it produced,
Mhm.
and you know, that's something that we deal with too. You made the comment of, you know, a guy doesn't have time to, if he drops the bike, pick it back up when the
Yeah.
next rider's onto him. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of sections we thought were going to be
fun.
and
then-
challenging, you know, in
Yeah.
a good way, and then it's just a choke point.
Yeah,
It's
it's
an
kinda-
absolute cluster.
It's kind of disappointing in some ways because you spent so much time on this area and it's actually, man, it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you get there and it's like chaos. Like, well,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
didn't work
Exactly
out very well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like I said, talking about the choke points and stuff, it's just patience, man. I understand it's a race, you know, you're trying to get around that guy or trying to catch a guy ahead of you or whatever, but man, patience. You can gain so much. There's been multiple times at little bottleneck, like just little hill climbs and stuff, where it's a mess when we get there. Me or Zach or any of my guys will get there and we'll stop them. We'll wait for one guy to go up. He makes it, or he makes it, you know, 3/4 way, send the next guy. You can sit there and do that, and it's just smooth.
Yeah.
It'll just flow right through there. You walk away and you let them go after it.
Yep.
It's like they're not. Some of it is they're not. They're new riders, so they're not really paying attention to if that rider made it. They're just he went, so I'm going behind him, and then he wrecks, and I run into him. Before you know it, there's 4 on the hill, and it's a mess real fast. So patience is a lot of it. I try to tell them guys, I'm like, I understand it's a race.
Yeah.
You want to go, you want to get around the guy in front of you or catch the guy ahead of you, whatever. But man, it's patience once in a while.
Well,
Really
heck, we've got guys that run the dual sport hard loop like it's a race.
Yeah.
It's the, like I said, the whole
Yeah, I'm
point
getting
is to
ready.
get out and challenge yourself and have a good time. And you fail out on a hill climb or something and you about get run over by a guy. It's like, we're not getting points for this. There's nothing to be won by the end of it.
A fun ride.
Yeah.
It was like 2 years ago, I think. I was getting ready to go out and do my sweep ride, and I usually wait like an hour until I see the last guys left the camp or whatever. Then I'm sitting there putting my gloves on, getting ready to head out, and here comes like 2 guys back. I'm like, you guys just did like almost 100 miles in like an hour and 40 minutes. Like they're like, is that it? Like, go do it again.
Like,
Some of these
guys are just, you're kind of splitting the difference. So you're going to have a bell curve distribution of rider capabilities. We don't want to create something that's utterly impossible for the guys that are, on the more novice side, but still wanting a challenge, but not something that's so easy that the A-class guys just smoke through it. Well, unfortunately, that's a really hard balance to strike.
Yeah, talk about that, because I'm sure we talked off camera that you can't please everybody with your tracks or whatever you guys have as an event, but that's got to be challenging to make it something where no matter what your skill level is, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and like you saying, the skill level, and honestly, the micro bikes and the micro quads, that's the worst one, because you just have such a variety of skill level. So like you're saying, you want to build a track that the front guys, not that it's challenging for them, but it's fun for them.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, I'm sitting on a seat holding it wide open.
Yep.
So you got to make it long, and you want to put some kind of technical stuff in for them. But then you got the kid that this is his first race, and you don't want to discourage him because then they're never going to come back and do it again.
Yeah.
And that's no fun for anybody, not mom and dad or the parent or the racer. So it's just super hard. I mean, the adult race, you're an adult, you signed up for it. Good luck. I mean, that's kind of how we. I mean,
Godspeed. What you're getting
I've laid
into.
it out, and obviously, if there's something I call it a showstopper. If there's a showstopper out there, we'll go out, we'll take it out, or we'll be there to build an alternate or whatever. But for the majority of it, like, you're an adult. I'm not going to follow you around, pick your bike up, start it for you. Now the kids, yes, we'll do that for the micros.
Sure.
And some of the, it's just so hard to build a track for the minis because, like I said, the skill level is just, it's all over the place. I mean, you got some of these kids, they're winning at the national level.
Yeah.
So they're super fast. And it doesn't matter what I really throw at it for them. They're going to be bored, because they're winning at the national level. But the tracks are just, walk.
Got to shout out a little, not a mini rider, but 65 and 85, Mr. Hunter Hockenberry. FDSR sponsors him.
Oh,
and,
Hunter.
Really fast local kid. So be on the lookout for him coming up, guys.
Yeah,
So Richie, you were talking, you kind of mentioned a little bit, and something that I definitely wanted to get into was, the history of, racing and promoting in this area, because not only I think have we had some really awesome, successful racers, we've had some really successful race promoters in this area as well. Obviously you take it back to Big Dave Coombs, kind of starting everything around in this area with Blackwater and the GNCC days. You mentioned earlier, Paul Kuntz for years, kind of leading the charge, as so to speak, around here for a local series. I see in the comments right here, we got Mr. Kenny Sinclair, KSR, put on a great series. Andy Grogg with Mid-Atlantic, and even Ronnie Paul with New East Coast now. Talk about the history of, when you guys decided that you wanted to kind of jump into this realm and do this sort of thing.
Honestly, I'm not going to say it fell in my lap, but I wasn't expecting it. It started back in 2012. I moved to Cleveland, went to motorcycle school, come back from that, was going to just, work on motorcycles, on the shop or whatever. And I thought, I'll just stay for my own business, work on stuff of my own. Well, that was super slow. So I was going to the racetracks, Paul Kuntz at the time, trying to drum up business, hey, let me work on your stuff, basically.
Right.
And Paul kind of approached me and said, well, why don't you help me build tracks? All right. You know, I mean, how hard can this be? So I got a utility folder and I started building tracks. And then that kind of just snowballed where, and I'm not trying to get into any drama or any he said, she said stuff, but this was right after the time that he'd sold it to New East Coast. And he was like, you know what, I'm done with it. Why don't you just start? It's like, I'm going to be done after this year. And I was like, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought, well, I'm building the tracks. I'm not getting paid for it. My dad comes in track marshals. My mom's coming and, you doing anything from working the gate to running the concession stand. So I'm like, I'm not going to start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to say I'm doing half of it. Like, I'm already there putting work in. So I might as well. So that's basically what I did. In 13, just started. I knew, like I said, I'm not trying to start any drama, but I knew I wanted to get away from the word XC racing because it had been used so much.
Yep.
So that's where the Hare Scramble will come into play. I just want to try to separate myself from the series in the past. Nothing against anybody. Like
That's a cool throwback term.
Separation.
That's a cool throwback term too, because like this whole hobby got started off of street bikes that were converted over to off-road use with knobbies, especially like Triumphs and Greaves and stuff like that over in the UK. And that was they called them Hare Scrambles. And I'm glad that terminology lives on.
I liked it. Like I said, it was different and had been used, around here anyways. It had been used, so I was like, cool, let's go. I still have guys that like, I'll be at the bank or something, or somewhere where nobody knows what a Hare Scramble is. You race rabbits? No, I don't race rabbits. And they're like, well, it says Hare Scramble. And I was like, it's motorcycle ATV.
You ought to play into it one
and then they kind of
time.
look at you like, motorcycle ATV. I was just like, whatever. But yeah, so back to the history. That's kind of where that started, and that was 2012. So 2013 was my first like full season on my own. Doing it the way I want to do it. Downhill since then. Those first 2 or 3 years, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
We wasn't hardly getting any riders. If it wasn't for my mom and my dad, literally paying my bills. Literally would loan money off of them to pay my insurance just to put the race on, then turn around and as soon as the race is over, give them that money back. And then 2 weekends, I'd loan that same amount of money off and pay the insurance again. Like them first 2 or 3 years, it was a real struggle. Me and Sarah just kind of kept at it. It'll get better next year. It'll get better. We'll get more riders, etc. Yada, yada, yada. And it did. It just kind of slowly rose. And then COVID hit and it blew up.
Yeah.
I tell people this a lot. COVID was bad for a lot of people's businesses. It wasn't bad for the power sports industry.
I
Couldn't
can
buy side by side anywhere.
Yeah.
Racetracks were full.
Well, that's when my wife and I started going to Hare Scrambles. Was I had some of my cousins racing quad class, and there's nothing else to do really.
Exactly.
And like, if you weren't out, or if I wasn't out riding at the time, or camping, the best way to spend a Saturday was to just go watch some other people ride.
Mhm.
So
Well, COVID was good for us too, because 2020 was the first year that we did the 304 detour, and we had to postpone it. But Big Jim Justice there, and Baby Dog come up with the rule basically where you could have an event if it was an outdoor gathering.
Yeah.
So at that time, we were the only game in town as far as a dual sport event. So everybody wanted to come and do something. So yeah, it was fantastic for us as well.
Well, that was probably the best street and trail riding I ever did, because I could ride from like here to like Bull Run, Blue Hole, and pass like 3 cars. There was next to nobody out on the road.
Yeah.
For street and trail bike, it was a really good period of time.
Yeah. So obviously 2013. So what's that? 12 years now. You've been doing 12 years.
Yep.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be as far as putting these events on?
Yeah, I really don't know. I've never thought about that. I've definitely never had that question asked.
Stick with it. Might be
Yeah,
good advice.
That's probably it. Because like I said, it got better, and that's all we did basically was stick with it. There's not really anything I regret doing that I would have did differently. We're gonna, you know what I mean? Like we always try to, stick to our rules, run as fairest race as we can, kind of stick to our guns. So like I said, there's nothing that I wish I would have done differently. So the advice thing, other than maybe don't find a different career,
Find a different path.
It's hard. Like I said,
Yeah.
there's a ton of work that's involved in it. A lot of these guys, they don't have a clue. They don't see it. I had a guy show up to the racetrack on a Wednesday. He's like, "Oh, you're already out here working." Like,
You don't know the half of it.
It's Sunday. It's Wednesday. Like we got half the track done.
Yep.
Just the amount of work, and then like we was talking about, you can't please everybody. These last 2 or 3 years, it's just like I can't do anything right. Like, everything
we
is our
definitely
fault.
we definitely feel that.
Yeah.
So we normally aim to put on a pretty difficult hard loop, challenging. But this year during the drought, some of the worst areas, that normally really pose an issue for a lot of riders, you could just go up them plain as day. You'd almost take a street bike up some of them because it was completely dry. And we had some people voice their displeasure with the difficulty of our hard loop and stuff like that. It's like, okay,
Can't control the weather, guys.
we can't control the weather, but I'll tell you what, you'd have been singing a different tune going up Fetterman Hollow if it rained earlier that week.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I know back in 2021, you guys went to a 2-day thing, and I wasn't happy with it because I was racing at the time, and it kind of, I couldn't get off for Saturdays. That's in the past, what have you. But I mean, just from my opinion, that was definitely a necessary thing. It seemed like to try to do all that stuff in one day, I can't imagine that. It's just too much.
It was a constant struggle. The biggest thing that people griped about was staying on time.
Yeah.
And when we was one day, that adult quad race, was the last race of the day. It was never on time. Everything could go perfectly throughout the day. We could have great weather, and it was still like you was off by 20 minutes, half hour. And and we even bumped it back. We started them at like 3:30, and it was just like, man, there's just so much going on. When you're one day, you've got 6 races in there. That means 6 starts, 6 sweeps, 6 track changes. Like it's so much to try and do in one day. And then the COVID hit. I'll never forget the first race we had at COVID was out of Sand Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And 301 dirt bikes on the starting line. And I literally I was almost in tears. Look, guys, I didn't know, because the track was short at that time. We weren't building big tracks. Like if we had a 6.5 mile track, we was all right.
Yeah.
And when I seen that on the starting line, I went over there and I was just like begging to him. I'm like, look, patience. There's 300 of you out there. It's a 6 mile loop. The track was never designed to hold that many at one time. Like, you've got to have some patience. Like, you start blowing through ribbon, you're gonna ruin everybody's day.
Yeah.
Because now they're gonna be lost. People are gonna be going from the 4 right back to the 1, or whatever have you. So I'll never forget that. Like, me basically begging to him, like, please. And it did. It went pretty flawlessly from what I can remember.
Good.
But yeah, that was what kind of started. And we kind of knew that whole year, like, look, we're gonna have to do it 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, and we knew we was gonna have to do it by the end of the season, because we had those 3 tracks that we wouldn't physically fit the parking.
Yeah.
The parking wouldn't physically fit. And I'm like, we're gonna have to go to 2 days. Like, this is gonna have to happen. And now that that's how it is, I would not go back.
No, I guarantee
Unless
it.
I absolutely have to.
Yep.
And like right now, our turnouts are probably pre-COVID. The economy sucks. And it's just the turnouts are down. So we could almost go back. Like, our turnouts are back to what that is, but I won't, because it's nice to Saturday at noon, you throw the green flag and you're like, once the checkered comes out, minus a Stacy race or a Barbie Jeep race or something for fun on a Saturday evening, it's like, we're done. So, only 3 races, and the weather plays in this, kind of sucks. The weather might hit Saturday night. We got a mutter on Sunday, but man, unless I absolutely had to for some odd reason, I would not go back to one day.
Well, it's probably nice to be able to have your blood pressure kind of come back down to a normal level at the end of that, right?
Yeah, a little bit, because it's usually up there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's just a lot of stress and a lot of effort put in. FDSR having a 2-day event, splitting the hard loop versus the easy and intermediate loop has been
it was good for us.
It's been great too in the same sense. Plus, for us, people don't have to choose between one or the other. You
Yeah.
can do the hard loop one day and then
Next
do
one.
the easy loop the following day, and it works out pretty good. I can't imagine the logistics of trying to operate multiple different loops on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never, like I said, I'd never go back to one day unless something happened out of my control and I had to.
You kind of mentioned there a little bit, and that's definitely a topic I wanted to bring up is, how the turnout is nowadays. You kind of said that maybe it's kind of going back down to pre-COVID levels. And yeah, I think that any kind of hobby, no matter what you have these days, is with inflation and everything else and commitments, it's just hard to do that. So yeah, I'm sure that that definitely takes an impact. I mean, we see it on a dual sport ride as well.
We talk about it all the time, and we've done episodes on it. Is the hobby aging out? Is the everyman or the average rider being priced out of the hobby? Even used bikes post COVID really just shot through the roof to a level that I really couldn't believe.
Yeah.
I shouldn't see a YZ250 at 200 hours posted for $3,000 less than what you could buy one brand new for instance. But
Yeah, the economy's got a lot to do with it, I believe. The other thing is, and it's good for the racers, but in our area right here, we're so saturated with XC racing series. I mean, a lot of guys I don't think realize it, but if you're sitting in Morgantown, if you can go 2 hours to 3 hours, you can hit 6 series.
Yep.
You got me, you've got New East Coast, you've got A-Works, you've got E-Rock over in Ohio, you got Wexter over in Ohio, and then they just started a new one over there, which is M or JXC or something. I'm not 100% sure. They just started a new one over there. Then you got, when Gene C runs, they got what now 5 there within 2 hours of it. So it's like on any given weekend, the rider they can go wherever they want. So like I said, it's great for the racer. They have so many opportunities to race that weekend. They have so many series to choose from. But from a promoter standpoint, it's like our stuff's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
We have to be on our A's or Q's or however you say it. Our stuff has to be perfect. Like we can't have a bad track. We can't have crappy live scoring. We can't have we our stuff, like I said, which is great for the racers because then they get top notch series out of it. But for us, it's like all of our stuff has to work flawlessly. We got to be on time, and it's hard. There's so many variables. It's just hard to make sure everything runs smoothly and everybody has a great time. And like we talked off camera, you're never going to please everybody, and we know that.
Yep.
We aim to try to please the majority of them, but like I said, anymore it seems like I'm always at fault. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what's wrong. It's my fault. Your bike breaks down, it's my fault. It's too rough.
We joke, finishing up a hard loop or something. If half the guys say it was too easy and half the guys say it was an absolute blood fest out there, and we did good. We split it right down the middle.
Yeah, you're in the middle. Well, and this day and age of social media, where anybody can get on and post anything they want without any merit.
Yeah, we gave people too easy of access to a soapbox.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, that's the first place. And I don't remember exactly how the old saying goes, but if you have like a bad experience at a restaurant, you're likely to tell 10 people how bad it was.
Yep.
But if you have a great experience, you're likely to tell one.
Yeah.
That with Facebook is it's 10 times worse.
It is.
Because if everybody has a great time, you don't hardly ever hear them talk about it on any social media about how good a time they had, how good the track was, how good the whatever it was. But as soon as they have a bad time or they get an employee that was rude to them because we're having an off day, it's social media, and it's just they put us on blast.
Well, it's like the saying, if you've done everything right, a lot of people won't know that you've done anything at all. Like if everything just goes off, just goes off without a hitch, people are going to, question why do you even need this many employees to make it happen if it just worked out good,
Yeah.
But, having been involved in it for as long as you have, you've seen, probably several different trends come and go. I know kind of quads tapering off as time goes on. There's fewer and fewer new options. My wife and I was joking anytime we go to a Hare Scramble. It's like, there goes a Honda 400 quad on its 8th Chinese piston. Like, it's becoming difficult to source parts for some of these older machines. And, It's my understanding that Yamaha is pretty much the last OEM producing a dedicated race quad.
Yeah, the quad industry is definitely taking a hit. If we get, and I don't know what it is at other race series, but at ours, if we get 90 plus,
It's a good
we're like,
day.
heck yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
'Cause they're not out there. I mean, the quad scene is just, and I understand when the side by sides hit the market, that's where kind of everybody focused their marketing and their money and all that. But man, the quad side, it needs help.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Yamaha basically, I'm pretty sure they're the only ones producing a race quad still. And I believe the market's there, especially now that the side by side industry, I think, is kind of trending down. I think it's lost its new car smell.
It's kind of like,
to say like, so now guys are like, okay, let's get back to the quads and
Yep.
especially the quad racing side of things. Like, I think the market's there for somebody to build a 450 and put it out there to at least compete with the Yamaha stuff.
Yep.
But I don't know if we're going to see it.
But we also experienced somewhat of a resurgence in two strokes there for a while.
Yeah.
It was all about four strokes, and then you start seeing more like 300 TPIs and stuff like that, and KTM XCs and Husqvarna and their offerings, and it was good when I would go to Hare Scramble races to hear some two strokes out in the woods, screaming going through the track.
Well, when you can rebuild it for $300, that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Or less,
Yeah.
for sure.
The thought of doing a top end rebuild, including the valve train on my KTM 350, would keep me up at night.
Yeah, especially on the KTM.
Yeah.
Well, Richie, let's get into some personal stuff here. So, you were a fantastic racer in your own right growing up.
Right.
Your entire family, honestly, your brother Zach is one of the fastest guys I've ever been around. But talk about growing up, and I'm sure it was your old man kind of getting you guys into racing and riding. How was that dynamic? Having a family background. You mentioned it with me. I grew up with the whole family racing and riding. So talk about that a little bit.
So, my dad, we never had dirt bikes until Dad bought the first one for me and Zach. I've heard stories of him having one, more like kind of the street trail kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as racing, I don't know if he ever did any. So we didn't really have any of it, as far as that far back. What really got it started was we moved up here. We moved to Preston County there when I was like 5, so say in '95. And big yard, and Dad bought me and Zach a go-kart, and we just trashed it. Like we had a little roll in the front yard, and we was building a jump at the top of it. I didn't do go-karts back then, heavy suspension. We broke the frame on it twice. And he had to guss it all up, and that got it started. Because then he's like, "Well, you guys are going to have a dirt bike or something." Between that and then a foiler, he went and bought a utility foiler. And we dang near had it trashed because when he wasn't home, we was riding it.
Yeah.
And we would always go trail riding on a Sunday. He had a group of buddies that lived around the area, and it was like every Sunday you met and you went riding out the mines and the ash piles and this and that. We always had to ride his utility foiler. And he said, "Yep, you guys are going to have a dirt bike." So he bought me and Zach the very first dirt bike we ever had. It was both of ours. We shared it, 2000 KTM 65. And we raced motocross, and like I said, we shared it. He would race a moto, and I'd race a moto. Of course, we didn't get scored because it was two different riders. And then sometimes, if there was enough, like he'd race the younger class since he's younger than me, and I'd race the older class.
Yeah.
So we shared that 65, and that's what started it off. From there, it's basically history. We outgrew it. He asked us what we wanted. Zach, of course, wanted an 85. He bought him an 85, and I was like, "I'm not digging these two wheels. Like, I want something with 4 wheels." And at that time, I was like 12.
Yeah.
You can't ride a 4-wheeler. You're not old enough. You got to be 16. Because the Raptor 125 and 250s, I don't know if they was. I mean, I'm sure they was out, but
so I don't, not to interrupt you. I always thought that was such a weird window that there was no quad to fit that window for. Like that's where the birth of these hybrid 4-wheelers came from. Because the age range was that. I just thought that was.
It was
like,
I agree.
You would go to these, the Hare Scramble races or whatever, and you'd see like 13, 14-year-old kids are 6'2" on a TRX 90. Like, how is that more safe than just putting them on a 300EX or 400EX?
Exactly.
Yeah, not to interrupt. But
no, you're fine. You're exactly fine. You're right. And trying to make a long story short here. So Zach progressed with the two wheels. I basically dumbed around on the back of the four with my dad. He track marshaled for Kings. So I'd ride around with him. Like I'd ride around, help him track marshal. Basically, he'd give me a yellow vest, and I'd say, "Point riders here, go this way, go that way, whatever, whatever needed done."
Yeah.
Until I was like 14, maybe 15. I don't remember exactly, but bought me an old 250, 91 250X. We fixed it up, and I rode the heck out of it. I was 16. Then got a Z400 and started racing it.
I remember the Z400 days. That's one I remember.
Kenny Sinclair built a motor for me. I don't remember the year range on that. I had that thing for probably 4 or 5 years or longer.
Yeah,
somewhere in there, he built a motor for me, and I raced. I raced the wheels off that thing, and I took to it. I'm not going to say I was great, but I was a decent rider.
Sure.
Like I said, Zach was obviously progressing very well in his super mini days and all that. So we'd run Paul's, we'd run Kenny's, we'd run Andy Grogg's, Nationals. I mean, these guys talk about running 3 series these days. And I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember racing on Saturday, and then we'd clean everything up and go Sunday and race again.
Yep.
You go. I don't know how many DNC races you've been to. Like I said, I'm talking to the choir about it, because I know you've been right there, especially with your mom and your sister. And I mean, all you guys have raced forever. You've probably been into it longer than I have.
It was probably 6 or 7 years old, starting out down at Pyramid Valley. And then my friend Justin McCoy started running some of the Paul's stuff and said, "Hey, you ought to come try this wood stuff. It's pretty fun." But then there was multiple times where we'd be racing motocross on Saturday night and show up to Bike Barn, Sunday morning with a bike that's absolutely filthy, and just clean the air filter and go. Make sure it's full of fuel and see what you got. But yeah, those were the days, man. You didn't know that they were whenever you were living them.
Yeah, heck yeah. I remember, I think mine's Zach's first Hare Scramble race wasn't mountain top, and it was cold. It was freezing up there. Parked up on top, which now you drive up there, you're like, "How the heck did you ever park in?"
Yeah.
It looks like you parked 50 cars up there, but it was like, I can remember, being cold, just fingers froze.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember that being our first one. And of course, everything else from there is kind of a blur. You remember certain races here and there, but that's about it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I kept racing the four wheeler. Zach kept racing the bike. Obviously, Zach's done really well on it. Which is funny. There's so many riders, and I know a lot of them is because they're new. They've gotten into this either late in life or they're just younger. They don't have clues at this.
Yeah.
It would crack you up. There's been handfuls of times that Zach will be at a bottleneck. They're like, "You want me to take that bike up there?" "You can't take this bike up there." I just stand back. I'm like, "You done said the wrong word."
Yeah.
Up and he'll go. Or especially the younger generation, like the whole clutch thing. They don't realize you can ride that bike with no clutch. I don't know how many times the clutch perch has been broke off, and I'll be like, "Buddy, look, I'll give you a push. You stab it in gear and just follow me, and we'll ride to the pits."
Yep.
"You can't ride this thing." I'm like, "Yes, you can." That's one gentleman a couple years ago argued with Zach. You can't get it started." Zach said, "Watch me."
It was
a YZ 125. He got on there, stabbed it in gear, and down through the woods he went.
Yep.
He just looked at the guy. Looked at me. I was like, "Get on the floor, and I'll take you to this."
I got to attest to that, because I've talked about this with a lot of people that I ride with. Is we grew up with that. We grew up with, hey, okay, my shoulder is hanging on by a thread here, but you know what? It's round 14 of 15, and I need to get top 3 to get this points for the end of the year. I'm riding.
Yeah.
My shifters broke off. I'm stuck in third gear. I'm going to go out and do 2 more laps so I can get some points. And I think it's just the day and age where people got a little soft. You don't really see that anymore.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And the other thing is, I think we grew up, and don't take offense to this. I don't mean it in any offensive way, but we grew up around the junk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, for the most part,
100%.
like, nothing against my parents, your parents, anything. Like they did our best, but and I don't mean they put us out there on junk. What I mean is, like, if the clutch lever broke halfway through the race, we didn't pull in.
No,
we made it work. If the tire went flat, you rode it.
Yep.
Like nowadays, it's like, and like so a lot of it's probably younger generation. They just don't know the mechanics. I feel real fortunate. I'm sure you do as well, that you grew up with mechanics in the family.
Yep.
So you kind of knew while he's out there racing what the machine couldn't and could do.
Yeah.
So that helped us. But yeah, there's just so many guys that like, "Oh, I got a flat tire. Oh, I got a fork seal busted. I got, my bark buzzer's hanging off." Like, just go.
Rock it, make it work.
You don't need that crap.
Yep.
And the quad side, I'll probably, offend some quad riders here. But like, anymore it seems like quad riders, especially the C class guys, they have to have $40,000 fuller on the C line.
Yeah.
It's like, really, buddy? Like, I understand where they're coming from. Yeah, shocks make it ride better and all that, but like, I ran a Z400 with stock suspension for years,
and
years and years and years.
And no lie, I was hauling ass on that thing.
I mean, I did well on it. Then when I progressed to 450 with decent Elkas on it, it was like, oh my God, this is where it's at, and that just, I progressed even faster then. But yeah, just it's just a generational thing.
Well, and it's the same with our sport too.
Oh yeah,
that's what I see guys show up with, brand new KTM 500s, whatever, what have you. All the climb gear they've got, more than the gear than I have in my motorcycle.
Yeah.
And they show up.
Some of them have more in one bike and their gear than I have in 4 different bikes.
Yeah. And get out there and let's be frank, they just cannot ride. Yeah. But they'll make it halfway through an event or a ride or whatever, and then go back and tell their lawyer and doctor buddies, "Hey man, that was hardcore. I did this lap and all stuff."
I won't say anything bad about optometrists because we got Dan, the rescue man, right?
But he's a hardcore animal.
I have a view that's considered gatekeeping by a lot of people, but if you can't wrench, I don't think you can ride, especially dual sport. Like if we're going way back in the middle of nowhere, and you can't take care of your own house, so to speak, if you can't wrench on your own machine, you're kind of a detriment. If you're relying on everybody else to have tools and know how to line your machine out for whatever goes wrong, that's a real pain.
I'm sure you guys constantly deal with having to MacGyver stuff together to get bikes and
stuff out. You wouldn't believe the amount of four-wheelers and dirt bikes that me and Zach fix with a Leatherman. I carry a Leatherman. He carries a crescent wrench and a pocket knife. And then, of course, we always have hammers on the floors for driving stakes.
My wife,
four-wheelers and bikes, we'll fix out the woods with that. Just so, it's easier to fix it real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Let them finish, or just let them ride out behind us.
My wife had bought me a Leatherman rebar for my birthday, and that was shortly before I had my first ride with the guys at FDSR. The first thing that my Leatherman fixed was our buddy AJ's leg. He blew out his ACL and meniscus, and I used the saw on that thing to cut a splint out of a sapling so we could get it stabilized enough that we could get him the rest of the way out. What is it, Snake Road?
That was 12 mile.
12 mile. The rest of the way out 12 mile to the end of it.
Good first impression for riding with me.
Oh yeah, you think that if I had any sense that I would have bailed out then and there, but here we are several years later.
Richie, we're kind of coming up on a little over an hour, and this has been great. Now, this has been one of my favorites we've done, especially in studio live here. But with everything said and done, what would you like to see in the future for Mountain State Hare Scramble?
More riders. It's funny you asked that. I was thinking, it's a couple weeks ago, I was driving to the racetrack, and I was like, how big do I want the series to get? And I was thinking about GNCC and, our buddy flying around over there. And like, I know how much headache I have, and I can only imagine what they have. Now, I'm sure they have 3 times the amount of staff. So that probably helps, like you were saying, compartmentalize it a little bit. But I don't think I'd ever want to be that big because it's just headache. I don't think I want to be that big. Where I'm at right now is like, it's a good spot for me. I can still handle it with the employees I've got. But going in the future, man, if we could just get back to like the COVID turnouts, that would be great. A few more spectators, a few more racers get back up there. That's a good maintainable level for me and the tracks that I have. And really that would just, not to sound greedy, but that'd put the money in the pocket, kind of make it worth it. These last 2 years, it's been kind of like I said, it's been slips. The turnout slack back off, so the money coming in slows down. The money going out definitely has not. My insurance is still the same cost. My, the ambulance, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, man, this last year, especially, the amount of money that we're making is just it's starting to outweigh if it's worth it. So
people
going forward, if we get our turnouts back up, that's what I'd really like to see. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with where the series is at and the direction it's headed towards. Like I said, as long as I can make some money, let's be honest. If you're not making money, it's not worth the one.
Things things can be a labor of love.
Yeah,
You
good
know,
point.
exactly. Things can be a labor of love. People a lot of the time wrongfully assume that you're breaking in money hand over fist.
Yeah,
That's
Which is
ridiculous.
just
Yeah.
not reality whatsoever. But you know, labor of love doesn't pay your bills at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've sat around with people and that's what they think. Like, we had 400 racers here and there was double the amount of spectators. Just add up all that money. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, yeah, he's got insurance, he's got this, he's
I
got that.
had it all up, and I can tell you exactly what my expenses are.
Yeah.
I can tell you the top, like our and I'll tell you right now, I don't care. Our insurance is $1,700 a round. That doesn't change. Our ambulance is $1,200 a round. You know, so right off the bat, you're at $2,700 bucks.
Plus having to pay the landowners, I'm sure.
Yeah. You know, our other big expense is porta johns.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
14,
we know all about that.
bucks.
Yeah, it's
stuff,
crazy.
Stuff people don't even
The little
consider.
stuff, and those are just like our couple major expenses. Heck, my plaque bill.
Yeah.
You know, the guys don't realize that those plaques, they cost me $10 a plaque for it. And sorry where I get them from, I'm getting a deal on them. I probably shouldn't be saying that because there's some other people getting them from there too. But like my plaque bill's through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
when
when
all
you're
said and done, I'm gonna have like 60 grand.
Yeah, you've got 20 or 30 guys per class, and what you
Yeah.
kind of use the old adage of 1 for every 3. I mean, that's a lot of money just in
Yeah,
plaques.
they don't like I said, they don't realize the expenses. There's a, you know, it's easily $10,000 in expenses, and that doesn't include my time, which of course, like you said, you're in business, so time's nothing.
Yeah,
That's what everybody thinks.
Paying your guys.
Everybody automatically thinks you're in business, you're loaded.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, where that stick doesn't come from. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, it's rough. There's a lot of expenses, a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You know, we've only touched on.
Yeah.
We only scratched the surface.
A fraction of.
Yeah, like I said, and we didn't even
the
get into any
whole-
storytelling, so we could stretch this out 2 or 3 hours.
Well,
if
we
wanted
could
to.
always do a another episode just dedicated to storytelling.
Yeah.
We'd love that.
Oh, we've got some stories.
I'm sure.
I mean, between racing myself and putting them on for the last 12 years.
Yep.
And all
Well,
the hooligans comes with that. Yeah, we've got some stories. So.
I'm sure that'd make a good one in the future. Maybe we'll come up and see you and sit around. Just,
I think that would be
bullshit a
cool
little
to do
We
one
can
on
do that.
location.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through some comments. Got a lot of them here tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in and sticking with us here. We got Elizabeth Valenzo says, HB, happy birthday. Is it your birthday?
Mine?
Yeah.
It was 17th.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Thanks.
So happy birthday. The man himself, Kenny Sinclair, says, Richie's done an amazing job taking the local race series to a new level. I can personally appreciate all the work that goes into putting together a weekend of racing. Good job.
Yeah.
That's got to feel good. Coming through.
Oh, yeah, Kenny definitely knows where we're coming from.
Yep. Mr. Chad Johnson.
Chad Johnson.
Let's see. Pull him back up here. Richie's such a fine young man. I remember back him and his brother were really young kids racing. Richie could really wrestle a quad through the woods. You got that right.
I was all right. I wouldn't say I was great. I did all right.
Humble too.
Yep. Briar Richards, who's my buddy Hunter, or Izzy's youngest kid, said thanks for the shout out for Izzy and Hunter. Yep, and I know that's your brother.
Hunter's one of those ones that's come up from the ranks.
He has, yeah.
He was wee little on a KTM 50.
Yeah. Jonathan Knuff said, I raced ball back in the day with some fun tracks. And he also says, love seeing hills in a race. Yeah, they were. What's up, Jamie? Just doing the show, bub. Matthew Bell, what I liked about the 304 detour was the option to bypass the AA stuff. It was a little too hard for those of us that are at that level. It's something easier than the easy ride. Yeah, that's what we try to do. Can't please everybody, guys. He says, I was able to try WTF, determine that AA options were more difficult than I was ready for, and was able to skip most of them. It kept me on my toes and helped me advance my skills. Good. That's what we try to do.
That's what we like to hear.
Jonathan Knuss, when does the payout start? Laugh out loud. Now, that is something that I really thought was really cool that you guys have been doing, giving the whole shot awards. Not just a lot of series you go to or whatever, it's just the pro class. It's always a pro class, pro lights, but you guys kind of randomly picking a different class. I think that's really awesome and keeps people coming back.
Well, I'll just take the opportunity to plug that real quick. We always pay out our pros, and then the random hole shots. A lot of times at certain rounds, we'll give out even a second hole shot or class winners. Especially if landowners have donated stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing is a lot of guys are not taking advantage of it. Two things: A, the Rocky Mountain gas cards.
We do the same thing for
A
us.
lot of guys don't take advantage of that, I don't think. And then the other thing is any of our A classes. You win any of our A classes, you get a free race entry to the next one. And then I'm not sure if it's every single one or if it's just A. I think you get a $50 Sheets gas card. Well, a Sheets card you can use
Yeah.
or a Walmart card.
I mean, that's a
Let's be
good way
honest,
to-
everybody goes to Walmart.
Yeah.
But we have so many of those. We put it in an envelope. We have so many of them that are not picked up. These
Yeah.
guys are like, hey, I got first place in the A class. I don't care about my plaque. You got to remember, your envelope stapled or taped to the back of that plaque has got your free race gas or not race gas. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, guys, we have some payouts. They need to be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I know just from personal experience, like in 21 when I was running the whole series, by the time it was said and done, I'd done enough for the race gas stuff. I bought a whole new riding outfit with
Right.
it, so
Oh, yeah.
it's easy to take advantage of.
Look fly too.
John Stewart, good old novella schedule. Yep, you know all about that, John. I'll be going in on midnight here shortly, unfortunately. Let's see, Monica Rosie, Richie Nolan does an amazing job. The track crew is always on it, running the track.
That's one of our EMTs there.
Awesome.
We have a great EMT squad that helps us at every single one.
That's good. John says if they build them again, I believe they would sell. And he's talking about the four-wheelers. Yep.
Yeah.
Brian Hose, he can still ride a quad. Look at that. Look at his work bike. That's your main buddy there.
That's
right?
my track helper.
Yeah.
We was at Grafton.
We need Trump back.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, let me tell you.
We're going to make the quads. We're going to make the best quads.
We're gonna make quads great again. They're gonna have 4 wheels, beautiful wheels. You've never seen anything like it.
Handlebars, cross-country tires.
Sean Ingram, me and Nolan went to college together. Let's go. Let's see here. Kyle Hawkins, see you Sunday. Hopefully my quad works right. Yeah, I hope so, man. Chad says we definitely need to have a follow-up story with Richie episode. We can do that. Jonathan Grubb says, great job, Richie. Keep it up. These kids love race day. Heather Holloman, Richie Nolan is a good guy. He has watched and told me my daughter Abigail has grown and become a better rider. That's awesome.
Yep, that's one of the race was for a few years.
Yeah, and does a good job. Good deal. And got a couple more here. Does a good job making his tracks a little rougher than the rest. Yep, I agree with that. Let's see. Kyle Hawkins, tell them guys thanks for towing me out of the woods when I hit the trees. I'm sure you guys get a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
Is Rich Itzy? Hey, Izzy, what's up, man? Great race series. It's always nice having bikes before the quads. Yeah, that's always been a complaint about the bike guys. It feels like the quads tear it up before the bike guys get out there.
And I'm honestly surprised that more series haven't went to that for that exact reason. I'm not a bike rider, but how do you ride in a rut? Your center's crowned up from the quads.
Yeah.
So now you have to ride in the left or the right rut. And if you're in a tight section, I have to feel like you're going to be banging the handlebars off the trees. So that was one of my. There was a couple factors. In
there's
the way we did it,
there's few things that scare me more than getting cross rutted at speed on a bike.
Right. Like I said, I'm not a bike rider by any means. I mean, I can. With that being said, I can still get on one and make it go around one of the racetracks that I lay out as long as it's dry. But it has to be before the quads. Run it all up. Just I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
Good. All right, we got a little bit of industry news. We'll go ahead and get started with that. All right, first up, USA. Team USA ATV MX has brought home the FIM World Championship at Quad Cross of Nations. So that's, for those unfamiliar, it's basically Motocross of the Nations for the quad motocross guys. Bryce Ford, Joel Hetrick, and Brandon Hogue secured America's 6th international title. And this is really cool. I thought that although they're competitors back home, they came together to represent the red, white, and blue in the Czech Republic. So really cool to see that, and America winning something else overseas. So really awesome. Next up, kind of unfortunate news. Sunstar Sprockets shutting down. Well, let's see. So the gist of this that I got is basically Sunstar is suspending all of their aftermarket production. So you, starting July 30th, 2025, you will not be able to get any more specific aftermarket brand sprockets or chains for your machines. They are going to continue to honor all of their current orders and inventories, and they will offer their product to OEM manufacturing and also going to kind of sub-market some manufacturing to different brands.
You poor boys like me that are buying primary drive sprockets from Rocky Mountain ATVMC, be looking for the PD for primary drives that are stamped over the Sunstar logo.
Cool Sunstar there.
Yep.
Last but not least, there's a whole new rider lineup for the KTM rally team. So me and you've talked about this off camera. They've shuttered the Husky and Gas line of their rally
And
series.
like I said off camera, I had a feeling that when they booted or I don't want to say booted, when Skylar Howell's relationship with KTM ended, that there was going to probably be a change up in the way that they approach their rally teams and everything. So we've talked a lot about the financial position that KTM's in and their slipping market share, the dubious quality of their camshafts, et cetera, et cetera.
Butter
And
camshafts.
the fact they really seem to be trying to skate by on we're designed and manufactured in Austria, when in reality they're increasing their overseas manufacturing more and more.
Maybe that's a question you should ask China.
But them getting rid of the gas and Husky rally teams does not bode well for the company.
I don't think so.
I think that this is an issue. Anytime an investment conglomerate takes over a company, especially like an enthusiast-driven company like motorsports, this is the end result. They just it's some big pump and dump scheme at the end of the day.
Yeah. So Luciano Bananas and Daniel Sanders will be added to the KTM awning alongside 2024 Dakar winner Kevin Benitez. This move comes after shutting down Husky and Gas rally teams. Notably left off the roster is multi-time champion Toby Price. Be interested to see where he ends up.
Toby Price was probably my favorite Dakar competitor. Based solely on a story of what he had to overcome to continue racing it. So I was very surprised to hear the news that they're not going to continue with him as a competitor.
Yep. Well, it's time for the last segment of the show. Now, Richie, if you don't know, this is a little segment we like to call "Had to Let Her Down." It usually has a bunch of pretty funny crashes and kind of a knock on the Harley guys that are always out there going, brother. So we'll let this play. Got a couple good ones.
Did you run into some clippings? Did Barb take the kids? Well, Hoss, maybe you had to lay her down.
All right, this first one coming up here is something I'm sure you have seen firsthand at many races. So you made it up the hill. I did anyway.
Would you say he's a Husky rider?
And this next one here, turning right. Why would you approach on the right? Had to lay her down. All right, Rich, before we let you go, buddy, who would you like to shout out that helps you guys with the series, either people that work for you, with you, and some sponsors that you guys have, I'm sure?
Yeah, first and foremost, my wife, Sarah, there's tons of stuff behind the scenes that she does that nobody sees and that doesn't benefit us, continue to see stuff like that. And then all my guys at the track, we've got some come and go in and out, season, kind of seasonal. But all them guys, we couldn't make it work without them. It takes a slew. That goes for the girls helping the, registration and scoring, all that. Sarah's girls, all those, my brother, parents, and all that for the support. Like I said, if it wasn't for them guys, there's no way me and Sarah could do it. Not just the two of us. And then of course all of our sponsors. I don't have a list of all of them, but all the sponsors support the series. We appreciate you guys. We thank you. Once again, if it wasn't for their help, that'd make it really, really rough or impossible for us to continue doing it as well. So we thank them. We appreciate them. Hope to see them on board next year.
Good deal. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this evening. We appreciate everybody tuning in and sitting down and watching with us. We hope that you guys got a pretty good insight on the background stuff of how much work this guy puts in to put on a race series.
I've got one little thing to add.
Go ahead, Joe.
James and I talk about what we can do to further the hobby. It goes beyond just street trail bikes, just anything on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, etc. Any off-road recreation. You maintain a circuit like this local that's kind of become a staple. It's really appreciated to have something like that available that people can run.
Most
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday for another episode of Tall Boys.
And Trackmasters.
We'll see you guys. Thanks.